Hey guys, James Wilson-Taylor here for Roxanne. We are backstage at 2000 Trees Festival 2024. Frank Turner on the lineup, and he joins me now. How are we doing, Frank?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm at 2000 Trees. How could I complain? How are you?
I'm very good, because similarly at 2000 Trees. No, it's such a fun event. I mean, that's been a recurring theme with everyone we've spoken to this weekend. It feels like it's a real favourite, not just of the fans, but the artists really love coming here. And I know it's very special to you.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I played the first year here in 2007, I believe. And I've played roughly 100,000 times since then. And like, you know, to the extent that what I do fits into any kind of scene, as it were, which I think is debatable, and I'm pleased about that. But to the extent that it does, this is it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? This is the epicenter of it. And James and the crew who run the festival have done such a wonderful job of making it's like a family event.
Yeah, it really does feel that way. I mean, especially as like you're getting to play on multiple stages here, because they all have a very distinct vibe, particularly that forest stage. That's got to be always nice when you see that you've got, not just the main stage, you're doing the forest as well. That's always fun.
It's going to be great. I mean, I have 3 shows today, busy day, because apparently I hate myself.
I mean, you're used to it at this point, doing the multiple shows in a day. I mean, you've set records doing it, for God's sake.
I have.
At that point, I do always get curious when bands in that situation where you're playing multiple shows. Genuinely, does the warm-up have to change? Does your routine in general have to change when you're thinking about that?
A little bit. I mean, once you've got one under your belt, you tend to be warmed up. So
that's true.
I mean, the weird thing, though, is that you come off stage at any given show with a sort of adrenaline glow, and then you start crashing a bit after that, and then you're like, I have to do it again. So three's a fair bit. I mean, I have done more.
Yes, you have famously done more, so fair play. This is a walk in the park, this one. It's going to be all fine. Congrats on the album, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, been out a little minute there, but like what I like about it is that you very much wear your influences on your sleeve on this one. You kind of almost tipping your hat to those bands and those artists that I know have meant a lot to you. Just tell me a little bit about the writing process and kind of feeding in some of those influences.
I mean, I think that to a degree I do this every time, but this was particularly strong. I try not to kind of pre-direct my songwriting, do you know what I mean? It's just like try and let it be what it's going to be, and you know, I have the great advantage of working with the Sleeping Souls, my band, who are brilliant and like can turn their hand to anything stylistically or whatever. So it was fun. I wrote the songs, I felt really good about them. We were working them up, and you know, there were certain songs that we tried as a kind of rock song, we tried as a folk song, we tried as a punk song. Do you know what I mean? Just sort of feeling. Some of them was like it goes like this, but some of them kind of moved around a fair bit. But you know, it was fun. I mean, I feel like the last couple of records I've done are have a bit more of a kind of punk vibe to them, shall we say, which I feel really good about. I mean, that was kind of an experiment on FTAC, the last record, and it went well. And it was
didn't it just?
And I sort of have a bit of a vibe where I'm quite contrarian sometimes, and it's like, that went well, let's do something totally different. Whereas this time around it was like, I really enjoyed that, let's do it again. So, but yeah, you know, it's a punk rock record. I love it.
Yeah. Real sweet spot for you, and the audience again, I think, just really latched onto it, because it's interesting, isn't it, that like that sort of particular style and those particular punk references, it's not been in the mainstream for a minute. You're kind of almost bringing it back in a little. It's nice to give it flowers.
It's important to say that I couldn't give a tuppenny fuck about what is or isn't mainstream.
I would never suggest you would. Absolutely not.
But it's an interesting thing. Like, you know, I'm rooted in my influences, and like most people, the majority of those come from the sort of 16 to 22 kind of period of my life or whatever. That's generally how it works for most people. But like, I've been doing this long enough now that you kind of things come around again from time to time. So it's kind of nice that you know, there are people. I feel like there are so many good new punk bands around right now. True. Like just endless. Like the Meths played just now. They're one of my favorite bands right now. No Bro from Canada, best band in the world at the moment, in my opinion. So it's exciting to be part of that, and then I get to be the kind of weird uncle.
Weird Uncle Punk. There
we go.
Weird Uncle Punk. He has the next album title. There we go. That'll work well. We should mention as well, I, you know, at the risk of sounding cliche, I'm genuinely fascinated by album titles. I always end up asking about them, particularly when in this case there is a title track there, because presumably there must have been a moment where you thought, we've got this track, that sums up the record for me. Why was that?
Actually, funnily enough, it went the other way around this time around. Cool. Yeah, I for some reason, I was just convinced it was a one-word album title, and I knew there was a word that I was looking for. And then I did the really nerdy, unsexy thing of I was like, word association games with friends and like thesauruses and shit, do you know what I mean? And then in the end, I was rewatching Raging Bull, and about Jake Liotta with Robert De Niro, and you know, there's that kind of ragged, kind of old fucker who no one can knock over. And what I like about the word is it doesn't suggest that you're the world champion. It just means that you're still standing. And you know, there's a quiet flex to it. Do you know what I mean? It's not kind of like I beat everyone. It's just no one beat me.
Yeah.
And so that I came up with a word, and then it was like I had this song that was sort of half done but didn't have a chorus yet, and it was like, aha, that'll work with that. So it came together.
Yeah, I mean, it's it definitely fits, and like obviously out there on the road now, playing all these songs live, loads of touring coming up, and like I think, I am curious now. We've mentioned obviously you've been known for playing a lot of shows in a day. You've been known for playing. I mean, you did every state, all those kind of things. Is there any more of these kind of milestones that you actually have in mind at this point?
I mean, there's a couple on the drawing board, but particularly after the world record thing we did 15 shows in 15 cities in 24 hours. My crew, they didn't quite mutiny, but there was a general vibe of like, do not make us do this again anytime soon.
Okay.
And like 50 states and 50 days in the US was cool, but like again, everyone was like, we could also have just done a normal tour.
You could.
So yeah, there's a couple of ideas floating about.
Interesting. Well, we'll keep an eye out for those. It would be very, very cool to see what you do next there. Someone we've been asking absolutely everybody here this weekend, because as we've alluded to, it's a stacked lineup. It always is at Trees. It's so well curated. Is there anyone out there this weekend who you've never toured with before, never worked with before, where you think actually that might really work as a tour or as a collab or something like that?
That's a good question, and I would possibly need to examine the lineup and, again.
I do know
68 played today,
yes.
who are awesome. I really, really love that band. Josh from the Chariot, so that's definitely one.
Yeah. But
I mean, it's
good
funny because
choice.
there are bands on the bill that I love, like The Mess, but I produced their record and I'm touring them starting tomorrow. Amigo the Devil I love, but we just finished a tour with them in the States.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to keep within your parameters of your question and failing.
And failing, but we like that. We like that there's this community spirit and everyone kind of knows. It's a big Friends Fest, 2000 Trees, man. It's nice. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it feels like it all clicks together. Well, on that note, I'm going to let you go and get ready for these multiple shows today.
Yes.
Multiple shows, but always good to catch up with you. Congrats again on the album. I'm sure we'll catch up again soon, all right?
Thank you so much.
Good
man.
to see you, man. Frank, everybody.